Hey, folks, welcome to Market Intraday Analysis by InTheMoneyStocks.com, your leaders in pure technical analysis, avoiding all that Wall Street hype. Today, Wednesday, February 9th, 2011. Well, folks, the markets initially opened slightly lower, only to rally all the way up to the flat line. You can clearly see it here on the chart. Take a look right here. A small gap down into the 50 moving average. The market slowly advanced to the upside. Now, that's the normal action of the market. Interestingly enough, we saw a variation on that today where all of a sudden, late morning, the market started to dump. Now, this dump was because the dollar started to rip higher. The dollar really took off to the upside. Take a look at the UUP chart, which is the intraday chart of the dollar ETF. This is the move up that really dropped the markets. But notice how, again, as the dollar rallies, all of a sudden it just stalls right out. And again, this is Ben Bernanke and friends coming into play. Bernanke's again testifying on Capitol Hill today in front of Congress. A lot of Republicans there grilling him on whether or not inflation will rise. And again, you can see the dollar just turn on a dime here. And again, Bernanke and friends pushing the dollar down. The dollar again just hit new lows of the day. What has that done? That's rallied the markets all the way back up, just slightly negative on the day. And you can see the markets coming all the way back up here. And again, that's pretty standard. Volume, again, is very, very light. We had one little pop of volume here. In fact, biggest candle of the day happens to be at a very unusual time, right around 11:20 to 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Usually the heaviest volume candles are in the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. But this just shows you that the volume is so light when the market goes up. But anytime the market is selling, you have institutional players unloading. All right, again, that's really what that shows you, because when the markets dump out, volume spikes. And again, the volume is spiking there, a majority of it because institutions are involved, obviously, on the sell side. And you can see it right there coming down. So interesting to note that the biggest candle of the day today is clear and simple near the lunchtime hour, which again is very, very unusual. All right, in any case, markets are now floating. They're back on their normal path because the dollar comes in to save the day. Really, again, as I said, it's Bernanke and friends. POMO, I believe today is a huge POMO day for the market, which is permanent open market operations, where the Fed buys a certain amount of treasuries from the banks and institutions, and then the banks and institutions use that money to push into the market and prop things up. As long as volume stays light, you can see very clearly the market goes up. Look at volume light this morning. You see this little track downwards? The markets go up. Now, volume getting light again in the afternoon session, markets are floating up as the dollar declines. Both times the dollar declining there. Only when the dollar rose did the market start to sell sharply, as we saw that little blip on the screen to the downside here on the markets. All right, so that's what we're seeing for now. Let's take a look again at the dollar. The dollar is lower today, just off the lows of the day. The dollar has been falling back, as you can see over the last couple days, really going back to Monday here. Monday it opened higher and sold off. Tuesday opened slightly lower, then rallied back to close flat. And then again today, moving to new lows here on the afternoon session. All right, taking a look at the GLD. Gold is trading flat on the day. A little bit of whippiness in gold today, but that makes sense, right? Gold sold sharply in the middle portion of the day as well. Why? Because the dollar was rallying. Dollar going up means commodities would fall, so you would expect that. Now, as the dollar has fallen back, gold has rallied back and gone back to the flat line. Kind of interesting there to see that. The USO, you can see generally the same thing. Oil was trading higher here, and then the dollar started to rally, fell back, and then oil hasn't come back that much, but it has popped back up just a little bit. All right, let's take a look at some key stocks. Now, it's interesting because there are some key stocks that are under major pressure today. ExxonMobil is one. It has come off the lows, but still down 70 cents on the day. But again, nice fall on ExxonMobil as the dollar rallied. Obviously, commodities were declining. That took some wind out of the sail of Exxon. And Exxon was down even earlier today. This is something I found fascinating, is that Exxon and Chevron, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, all four stocks, even when the market was back to the flat line at one portion of the morning session, right here, even when we were back to the flat line, those stocks were still down pretty sharply. And again, I did find that significant when we saw selling later as almost an indicator of that selling coming on. And again, major stocks like that, if they're weak, generally it's usually, at least you'd see the market overall weak, and very unusual not to see it weak. So when we were up again on the flat line for the markets, unusual to see those stocks still down. All right. JP Morgan is still getting hit today. Goldman Sachs still down $2.15. Chevron is getting hammered today, guys, down $1.46. Big drop on Chevron. Again, it's come off the lows a little bit, but could be making an in spirit of bear flag. There were some great scalps, by the way. Fantastic scalps in the intraday stock chat today. One of them was Goldman Sachs, guys. Nailed Goldman Sachs right here for the first scalp. Take a look right here. See this little pivot area right here? That little pivot was called out in the intraday stock chat. Look at the size of that bounce on the first hit right there. And then again, here again. Then it came through and went right to the 200. There's your second bounce. And that's a beautiful long scalp. 2 long scalps actually on Goldman Sachs. Tesla, TSLA. Let's take a look at that TSLA chart. Look at this, guys. Pivot low right here. See this little pivot low back here? If I zoom out from this point, look at how it hits it, and look at the size of that bounce, and it's held that level. And that's the key, guys. You have to find these levels. That's what we do in the intraday stock chat. And by the way, there's a free trial for that as well. You also have a free trial for the Research Center, which we give major calls in, day out. By the way, big winner again in the Research Center, PCBC. I gave this stock as a buy. In fact, I told everyone in the Research Center that I myself bought it at $27.75. That was my entry. I gave it out as I do it. I give it out. I mean, if I enter something as a swing trade, I'm giving it out in the Research Center. Today, the stock took off on earnings, great earnings. The stock went all the way to over 31, from $27.75 to over $31, guys. And again, we unloaded that position today. No-brainer gainer there. Basically a $3 mover, over $3 mover actually on the upside there. Fantastic trade. All right, so PCBC, another winner there. We've been giving winners out all day. In the intraday stock chat in the Research Center, especially in the nightly video last night and the last few days, I noted TIV. I said I love this stock if it gets below 40 cents. Sure enough, it goes to 37 cents 2 days ago. I gave the alert in the intraday stock chat. It looked good there. I talked about it in the nightly videos, which Research Center members have access to. The stock is now trading at 46 cents today, guys. 37 cents to 46 cents. It's talking about 25 to 30% gain already. If it closes up here, it could be on a breakout path even higher. That is a no-brainer play and more profits in the pocket. So again, many congratulations to all members who are making money hand over fist, even when the market is just chopping around like we're seeing on the SPY. If I go back to the SPY, you can see we're just floating up now. This is the gentle float, afternoon float we've become accustomed to, and very likely could continue into the afternoon session, especially if the dollar remains weak. All right? So again, that's what we're seeing there. Some very nice moves otherwise in some other plays as well, but I don't have time to go over them for now. The other thing is I just want to focus on, let's take a look at JP Morgan's intraday chart. Here's JP Morgan. Obviously, notice the first hit of the 200 got a bounce. Second hit, Pierce also got a bounce. Then you flush through. JP Morgan still down pretty significantly. Your next support on JPM is probably not till around this level down here. If we had to happen to fall here on JP Morgan, this would be a beautiful intraday scalp to the long side, and that's an approximate price of 44.70, 44.65 area. Again, that would be a very, very solid one. Goldman Sachs, let's take a look. Again, we talked about Goldman Sachs already, the bounce off the 200. Notice it retraces back to the previous support, which was right here. This trend line, it breaks through, then it bounces back to that level. It's also the 20 moving average. You could actually short that area because it's at the 20 and the level. That's two signals to the short side. Look at the 1-2 bar pullback you got, and that's all you're looking for there. All right, Bank of America today down 3 cents. Really doing all right on Bank of America today. Not having a great day up, but not a great day down. Basically on the flat, one of the stronger financials. Wells Fargo down decently today, down 94 cents. This stock has been on a tear. Take a look at the daily chart on this thing. I mean, it's just been on a rocket ship up. Finally today seeing a little bit of a pullback. Interestingly enough, you want to know how you could figure that the Wells Fargo chart was going to pull back today? And again, I just give this stuff out because I think it's so fascinating. Go to your weekly chart. Look at your pivot high from 2010. Look at the high from yesterday on your weekly. Bam, bam. Look at that. And now you have a little bit of a topping tail as well there on Wells Fargo. Again, this is what you have to do, guys. Look at all time frames, understand price pattern and time. We teach it to you in the Research Center. You get everything included in the Research Center. Again, there's a free trial. Try it out. I encourage you to start making the money. I mean, there's more money being made today in the Research Center, more in the chat room, day in, day out. All right, guys, have a great afternoon. Join inthemoneystocks.com. We'll talk to you soon.